Final speaker for this session is Doug Warden, CFO of Resolute Mining. Mr. Warden was appointed Chief Financial Officer in September 2021, bringing with him over 25 years of experience leading the financial, strategic and commercial functions of businesses in the natural resources and agricultural sectors. Prior to Resolute, Doug was CFO at CBH Group, before which he spent 15 years in the mining industry, primarily with ASX-listed Iluka Resources. While at Iluka, Doug held a number of senior executive positions, including CFO, Head of Resource Development, and General Manager, Business Development. In addition to his key financial planning and investor responsibilities, Doug has also had broad experience in international operations in Sierra Leone, Sri Lanka, and the US. Please welcome Doug Warden.
Excuse me. Thank you, Liam, and good morning, everyone. So, firstly, our CEO, Terry Houlihan, sends his apologies. Terry is London-based, and he told me earlier in the week that he'd been at home for 6 days in the last 3 months, so we thought we'd better send him home, otherwise his family might not have him back. So, today I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of Resolute, talk a bit about our performance in recent times in ESG, some of the operational improvements we've made at Syama in particular over the last 12 months, and then cover off on our half-year financials and 2022 guidance. I'm then going to ask my colleague, Bruce Mowat, who's our EGM Geology and Exploration at Resolute. He's been with the company for more than 10 years. And he's been in the industry for over 35 years, exploring for precious metals and base metals in Australia, Africa, and other parts of the world. So Bruce is going to talk to you, he's much better qualified than I am, about some of the exciting exploration discoveries that have been made at Syama in recent months that we announced yesterday. And we're really looking forward to how that project progresses and the optionality that provides to the Syama sulphide asset in Mali. So Resolute's an ASX and LSE listed company focused on West Africa, market cap of about $300 million. Top 10 shareholders account for 40% of the register, and over half of the register is institutionally owned. We've got a long history on the African continent, been mining and exploring in Africa for over 25 years. You see there some of the projects that we've been involved in Ghana, Tanzania, Mali, Senegal, as well as exploration in a number of other countries in Africa since 1996. So we're very proud of our history there. We think we've done a lot in terms of the development of projects within Africa for the local communities and the governments of those countries. Some of the progress we've made in sustainability we're very proud of in the last couple of years. Firstly, on safety, we've seen our TRIFR reduce in the last 12 months from 1.24 to 0.89, terrific result. We continue to have very good relations with the Malian authorities, especially in relation to the environmental impact statements that we work with them on for our future growth in Syama. We've put a lot of work in the last few years into our health and safety management systems. We've got some ISO certification audits coming up in the second part of this year, and we're very focused in that area. We believe very strongly, as all mining companies do in the African continent, I'm sure, in the local content and supporting our local communities. And we've done much in recent times to help the communities close to our operations in terms of developing their agriculture, poultry, fish farming, and fruit and vegetables, which ultimately, some of which get supplied back to our camps for our workforce. People and local communities, as I said, are key to our success. We have more than 4,000 employees and contractors spread across our 2 operations in Mali and Senegal, about 2/3 of which are in Mali and the other remaining third in Senegal. Very proud of the fact that 93% of our workforce are nationals at both sites, and we've had very good industrial relations with our local workforce in both countries, and no disputes in the last couple of years. Recently rolled out a leadership development program for nationals at Syama and plan to expand that beyond the 300 employees who have already received that training. As I talked about, we invest heavily in the local communities and spend over $2 million a year across the two operations in education, food security, and other infrastructure programs such as health. Almost $350 million US spent last year on procurement in both Mali and Senegal combined. The Mako asset has been a very good acquisition for us since 2019. It operates in a very sensitive area right next to a national park. And you see some footage there from some of the cameras that we have set up in that national park, which shows the return in recent times to that area for some key endangered species, including leopards, chimps, and recent sightings of elephants, which hadn't been seen for about 10 years. We spend about $250,000 a year in working with the local authorities to protect those species in that national park. And we're starting to see the benefits of that. We're also a member of the World Gold Council, and we're committed to the responsible gold mining principles of that World Gold Council, and have achieved in the last 2 years since we started 84% compliance with those principles, and are targeting full compliance by mid-2023. I've touched a little bit on Syama. We've owned Syama since 2004. It's a very large resource in southern Mali, almost 9 million ounces in resource and 3.5 million ounces in reserve. It's both an oxide and sulphide operation. As Bruce will tell you in the near term, in a few moments, we very much see the future being sulphide, and the new discoveries that we've had at Syama North, I think, will provide that optionality. Targeting production for 2022 of 220,000 ounces, that's up about 15% on 2021's production. And as I talked about 2,800 employees and contractors there. And overall investment in that operation over the last almost 20 years of $1.6 billion in capital, taxes and royalties. So a very significant contribution to the Malian economy indeed. Turning now to Mako, acquired in 2019, as I said, much smaller resource, but has been a terrific operation for us. It's targeting production in 2022 of 125,000 ounces and has about another 5 years of life left with it, and almost 1,300 contractors and employees employed on that site, and about $425 million of total investment in taxes and royalties for the Senegalese community and government. Just a little bit on some of the operational improvements that have been made over the last 12 months. Some changes to that operational management team occurred with Terry Houlihan being appointed COO back in May last year. He's brought some people with him that he's operated with over the last 40 years in Africa and Indonesia in particular, in the gold and other precious metals largely. So very experienced team. Tackled the sulphide circuit, and in particular the roaster, which has presented challenges, fair to say, for Resolute for a number of years. We've seen some significant improvements in that space. There was a major maintenance shut in February and March of this year, focused around the roaster, but also the remainder of the sulphide circuit. And we're very pleased with the results of that shut, and the roaster's been running very well since early April when it came back online. And it is no longer the bottleneck of that sulphide operation, which it had been for a number of years. So, the task now is to look at low capital expansion opportunities at both the mine and then obviously the crushing and milling circuit, which now provide the bottleneck. So some of the discoveries that we've made recently and announced yesterday that Bruce will talk about are key to those expansion opportunities. And we're in the middle of a PFS in that regard, which will complete in Q1 of 2023. So we're very excited about that. Mako just continues to deliver and has done since it started operation, and certainly since we acquired it in 2019. Very consistent performer, so we're very pleased with that operation. Just a little bit on our half-year results. Underlying profit of $4 million, operating cash flow of just over $60 million. Importantly, the net debt, which we've been working hard to reduce, has come down from $229 million at the end of last year to $183 million at the half, and cash and bullion there of $82 million at the half year. Just to touch on our some other corporate investments that we have. The Bibiani gold mine was sold last year in Ghana for $90 million US. There was 3 tranches of $30 million. The final tranche is due now, but we've negotiated a deferred settlement there with the purchaser to receive those monies over the next 3 months. The Ravenswood gold mine was sold in early 2020, and you see there some deferred payments that we're expecting to come to fruition through the excellent operations of EMR, who are now operating that mine. So thanks, Owen. And we've still got 2 listed investments, although Oklo is subject to a takeover from B2 Gold, and I think the shareholder vote is actually tomorrow for that scheme to go ahead, and we retain our interest in Longcore, which has a gold project in the DRC. Finally, just to reiterate our guidance, which was set at the beginning of this year, 345,000 ounces of gold across the group is what we're targeting, at an all-in sustaining cost of $1,425. We reiterated that guidance at both the quarterly in July and the half-year results a week or so ago. We, like others in the industry, everyone is facing inflationary pressures, particularly around consumables and diesel. But we're working hard to contain those costs. We feel like we've got the operations at Syama under control. We've got consistent production coming out of the sulphide circuit. The trick now is to incrementally improve that production profile, because the best way in this inflationary environment to improve your all-in sustaining cost is to work on the denominator, we feel. We've been doing that. And now we're starting to look at cash costs as well. So that's the focus for Resolute. Bruce is going to talk to you about some of the exciting growth opportunities at Syama, but we remain very much focused on production costs, reducing debt, so that we can earn the right to grow. With that, I'll hand over to Bruce, who's going to talk you through a few slides around these Syama North discoveries. Thanks very much.
Slides there. Okay, thanks very much, Doug. Always nice to talk when you're in the exploration business of a recent success. It was announced. We announced some exploration results earlier this year at Syama North and some more yesterday. We'll start at Senegal. We acquired Mako in 2019. It's a great resource, but it's always been a little bit limited in terms of exploration upside. So what we've done in the last couple of years, although it's been a bit difficult with COVID, is we've tried to increase our ground position around the mine. We've done some recent joint ventures with the Laminia joint venture and Tomarakoto, and we're trying to build a bigger ground position around the mine to look for satellite resources to extend the mine life. There is a small resource, Tomarakoto, of 300,000 ounces that we would like to exploit, and we're exploring there now. But on back to Syama. This is a slide I've been using for about 10 years. We control pretty much the entire Syama greenstone belt for about 85 kilometres. The top 2 permits on the diagram are exploitation permits, where the mines, our open cut mines at Tabakroni and the underground mine at Syama, and oxide resources at Syama North are all located on exploitation permits, so we can mine them whenever we like. So the belt is very well endowed with resources. We've got 8.7 million ounces of resources. Of that, probably 7 are a sulphide. In the last 4 years, our oxide operations are sort of coming to the end in the next few years. So the exploration department's focused in the last 4 years on trying to extend the life of the oxide operation, which historically has been incredibly profitable. But as it always goes, there's a law of diminishing return with exploration, and the things we're finding now are sort of somewhat marginal. So in the last year, we decided to sort of go back to sulphide exploration to sort of try and see whether or not we can add more resources to increase the throughput. And now that the roaster upgrade we did this year means that it's running faster now than the sub-level cave at Syama could run. And so we're now in a position where we can feed extra ore through. So what's happened, we explored around Syama North for oxide resources last year, and in amongst that we drilled some deeper holes and got some pretty good intersections in the sulphide zone. So we sort of continued there. This is a block model diagram. It's a bit hard. I like long sections, but it's quite difficult to do a long section of Syama North because it's more than 3 kilometres long, and we've only drilled it down to 150 metres. So it's a long, skinny thing. But what we've sort of identified is pretty much the entire strike length of Syama North underneath the previously mined oxide pits is mineralised, and we've been drilling there with a couple of rigs since end of last year, and we put out at the end of last year, we had a total resource of about 1.3 million ounces at a cut-off grade of 1. We've added about 700,000 ounces in the last 8 months. So the resource now is 20 million tonnes at 3, a bit over 3 for 2 million ounces. So that is the same sort of undiluted head grade as Syama, and we've done preliminary met test work, and the metallurgy is exactly the same as Syama, which means we can feed that in straight away, and we expect to be running an open pit project here somewhere in the future. But in the meantime, we will continue to explore. So the rigs are still turning there. I've got some diagrams of some nice cross sections. So a lot of the issue, some of the more recent drilling, we've started to hit some quite wide intervals. Some of the earlier drilling were sort of 5 to 10 metre zones. In the last few months, we've hit zones up to 90 metres at 2.5 grams. And that gives me much more confidence that we'll have an open pit sort of potential at this project. The resources have been redone in 2 different ways, ordinary Krieg method and multiple indicated Krieging, so that we've got a pretty good idea exactly what the run and mine head grade will be. Now the next phase is engineering studies, which is commenced quite recently, but we expect this to be an addition to our sulphide operation in the very near term. The fact that the roaster now runs faster than what the sub-level cave can produce means that we've got extra flexibility if we use this new resource as an open pit. The drilling's continuing with 2 rigs, and we expect this resource to continue to grow, and hopefully I'll be able to update the market in the next few months with the results of the engineering studies. That's it. Thanks very much.